Welcome back to the deep dive. Last time, we sort of scratched the surface of Meteora, that tool for handling tokens on Solana.
Yeah, Solana being that super fast blockchain. And
Mhm.
Meteor lets you do stuff with the assets there.
Exactly. And if you missed the first one, no worries, you'll pick it up. We're building on it today. Think of Meteora as the way you actually use those digital assets, trade them, put them to work.
And for everyone listening, wanting to really get how the Solana stuff works, especially Meteora, this is for you. We want to make it clear, practical, cut through the jargon.
Right. So today's mission is pretty clear. What do you actually need to get started with Meteora? Like the absolute basics before you can even think about adding liquidity or anything like that.
Good place to start.
We're looking at the official getting started info from Meteora. So, okay, first things first. It seems obvious, maybe, but you need a wallet.
Spot on. That's your gateway. Your digital ID on Solana holds your assets to do anything on Meteora, like adding liquidity, which their docs mention a lot. The very first thing it'll ask is connect a wallet. A Solana-compatible one, obviously.
Okay, connecting a wallet seems straightforward, but are there common slip-ups? Or maybe things people misunderstand about why it's so critical?
That's a good question, actually, because that correction is how you talk to any dApp decentralized app on Solana, Meteora included.
Right.
It's how the platform verifies it's you, sees your tokens, and crucially gets your permission for any transaction.
Okay.
Without connecting, Meteora just, well, it can't do anything with your blockchain assets.
And how does that connection physically happen? Like, what does the user actually do?
Usually, right there on the Meteora site, you'll see a button, connect wallet, something like that.
Okay.
Click it, a list pops up, supported Solana wallets. You pick yours, and then your wallet software will likely ask, hey, are you sure you want to connect to Meteora?
Ah, like a confirmation step.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
like a digital handshake.
Yeah.
You get permission, but you always keep control. You sign off on every single transaction.
So which wallets are we talking about? The guides list quite a few software ones. Phantom, Software, Backpack. Those seem really common on Solana.
Yeah, they pop up everywhere.
And Coinbase Wallet supports Solana now, too. Then there's Trust Wallet, OKX, Coin98, Frontier. Even MetaMask, which is huge elsewhere, can connect now using something called Snaps via Solflare, apparently.
That's right. It bridges over.
And for extra security, hardware wallets like Ledger are supported. So lots of options. Is there a key difference between, say, a browser extension wallet like Phantom and a hardware one like Ledger that a newbie should think about?
That's a really important point. They all connect you, yeah, but they have different security profiles and convenience levels.
How so?
Browser extensions like Phantom or Solflare are super convenient, right there in your browser, easy for quick interactions.
Okay.
Hardware wallets like Ledger keep your private keys, the secret code to your funds, completely offline. That's much, much safer from online hacks.
But probably a bit more effort to use.
A bit more setup, yeah. And you need the physical device with you. So it often boils down to how much convenience are you willing to trade for extra security, or vice versa.
Gotcha. Like using your phone to pay versus digging out a specific card. Okay, so wallet chosen, wallet connected. What's next? Seems like you need some fuel. You can't do anything without the network's own currency.
And that fuel is SOL. So what is SOL? It's the native crypto for the Solana blockchain. The basic energy powering everything.
And when do you need it?
Pretty much constantly. Anytime you want the Solana blockchain to do something, that definitely includes using Meteora, adding liquidity, removing it, swapping tokens, any of that stuff.
If you're on Solana, you need SOL.
Almost certainly, yeah, for any on-chain action.
Okay, let's unpack the why. Why is it so vital? The docs mention a couple of main reasons.
Absolutely. The first one, the one you'll hit most often, is transaction fees. Every single action on Solana.
Every single one.
Yep. Adding liquidity to a Meteora Dynamic AMM pool using their vaults, their multi-token pools, anything that records something on the blockchain costs a tiny bit, and you pay that fee in SOL.
Tiny, like how tiny?
Really tiny. Usually, the smallest unit is a Lamport that's 1/1000th of a Solana. So fees are often just fractions of a cent. Think of it like a micro toll for using the Solana highway.
A tiny processing fee each time. Okay.
Exactly. Pays the validators who keep the network running. But that's not the only use for SOL, is it?
No, there's this other thing that mentioned, rent. What on earth is SOL rent?
SOL rent is, well, it's Solana's way of handling data storage efficiently. The blockchain has to store info about accounts, tokens, all that stuff. So it charges a small amount of SOL to keep that data space active.
Like paying for digital shelf space?
Kinda, yeah. Paying to maintain your little corner of the Solana database.
When does rent apply?
mostly when new accounts get created on Solana. A really common case, and the docs point this out, is when you get a new kind of token in your wallet for the very first time.
Oh, interesting.
Solana automatically makes a unique account just for that token tied to your wallet. It's called an associated token account, or ATA. Creating that ATA and keeping it open costs a bit of SOL rent.
Okay, and where is this SOL rent needed? Is it a Meteora thing or a Solana thing?
It's a Solana blockchain thing, fundamentally. So when you use platforms like Meteora and your actions trigger the need for a new ATA or some other account on Solana to track things, that's when rent comes into play. It's happening at the base layer, the Solana network itself.
And how do you pay it? Does it just disappear from your wallet?
Pretty much, yeah. When a new account like an ATA is needed, the network automatically takes a tiny bit of SOL from your wallet for the initial rent. To keep accounts open long-term, they need a minimum SOL balance, otherwise they could eventually be closed.
But
Most modern wallets and platforms like Meteora are pretty good at handling this smoothly. They often make sure accounts have enough, or they'll tell you if you need to add a bit more SOL. It's usually not something you have to manually track constantly.
okay. But why have rent at all? Seems a bit weird compared to other blockchains.
The main idea is efficiency. Charging rent encourages people to close accounts they don't need anymore.
Ah, tidying up.
Exactly. Stops the blockchain getting bloated with old, unused data, keeps things running lean. Plus, it contributes to the network's running costs.
And which crypto pays for rent? Only SOL?
Only SOL. Always SOL for transaction fees and rent on the Solana network. No other options there.
Okay, let's try that analogy for younger listeners. Say you send a digital picture to a friend. There might be a tiny processing fee for using the internet service that's like the SOL transaction fee on Solana.
Good one.
And if you wanted to store that picture online forever, maybe you'd pay a small fee to rent space on a server that's kind of like SOL rent, paying to keep your digital assets stored securely on the blockchain.
Nice analogy, yeah. Captures the two different costs.
Now, digging into rent a bit more, you mentioned accounts can be closed. Does that mean you can sometimes get the rent back?
You can. That's a key feature. If an account like an ATA is empty, you send all the tokens out and it gets closed, the Solana network actually refunds the SOL that was locking up that storage space back to the owner.
So it's not always gone forever.
Not always, no. Which is pretty cool.
Okay, so how does this rent stuff play out specifically when you're using Meteora? The docs give examples, right?
They do. For their dynamic AMM pools, if you're creating a new liquidity pool, you'll probably pay a small SOL rent. Doug suggests maybe around 0.02 to 0.03 SOL, something like that. But they warn it can change.
And that's mostly for setting up the token accounts for the pool.
Primarily, yes. For the ATAs needed to hold the different tokens in that pool.
What about their DLMM pools? Is rent different there?
It is, yeah. DLMs have two kinds of rent to think about. First is position rent.
Position rent.
When you add liquidity and create your specific price range position in a DLMM pool, there's rent tied just to your position, usually around 0.057 to 0.059 SOL per position based on the docs. But the good news, this position rent is refundable. When you pull your liquidity out and close that position, you get that SOL back.
Ah, like a deposit you get back when you leave. Nice. What's the second type for DLMNs?
The second is called binary creation rent. This one's different.
How so?
If you're the very first person to provide liquidity in a specific price range, or bin, within a DLMM pool, a range nobody else has used yet, in that pool you pay rent to create the underlying structure, the binary account.
And the cost?
Around 0.075 SOL per binary, according to the docs. And crucially, this one is non-refundable.
Non-refundable? Ouch, why? That seems a bit rough if you're the first one in. Are people okay with that?
That's a fair question. The logic, as they explain it, is that once you create that binary, it's there for everyone else to use too. Other people can deposit into those same price bins you just opened up.
Ah, so it becomes shared infrastructure.
Exactly. And because Meteora doesn't know if other people are now relying on those bins you created, they can't just close the account and refund your rent if it might mess things up for others using the same structure.
So the first person pays to build the road, then others use it.
That's a pretty good way to put it, yeah. It's a cost for establishing that specific price infrastructure, but then subsequent LPs going into that same range don't have to pay that initial creation rent. Trade-offs.
Makes sense from a system view. Now, Can users actually see these costs before they commit? Like, see the refundable bit and the non-refundable bit?
Yes, and that's super important for transparency. Before you hit the final confirm button to add liquidity, the Meteor interface usually shows a breakdown.
Oh, good.
You'll see labels like refundable SOL for the position rent and non-refundable SOL for things like that binary creation rent, so you know exactly what SOL is being used for upfront.
That's really helpful. No surprises. Okay, one last SOL-related term. Wrapped SOL or WSOL. What's that?
Wrapped SOL, WSOL. This is basically just your normal SOL, but it's been put inside a digital wrapper using the standard Solana token program.
Wrapped. Like a gift. Why?
Sort of. The why is mainly compatibility. Wrapping SOL makes it behave like any other standard SPL token on Solana.
SPL token being the common format for other coins.
Exactly. Some dApps or DeFi protocols might be built only to interact with SPL tokens. So wrapping your SOL lets you use it in those specific situations where native SOL might not work directly.
Okay, and how do you wrap or unwrap it? Is it complicated?
Not usually. Wrapping involves sending SOL to a specific program, which gives you back the same amount of WSOL. It's a one-to-one swap. And unwrapping is just the reverse, converting WSOL back to plain SOL.
So you can always get your regular SOL back.
Yep. The docs mention, for instance, that Phantom Wallet has easy options right in the interface to unwrap WSOL if you have some.
So WSOL isn't really a different thing, just SOL dressed up for specific parties, and you can always change it back to the regular SOL you need for fees and rent. Okay, wow, we've covered a lot of ground there. Let's bring it back home for the listener. What's the absolute core message here?
The absolute core message. If you want to use Meteora, you need two things. Non-negotiable. A Solana-compatible wallet and enough SOL in that wallet.
Those are the entry tickets.
Absolutely. Wallet first, then SOL.
And it's not just having SOL, right? It's understanding its jobs, those little transaction fees for every action, and that rent concept for keeping your data stored on chain. Knowing that makes things much smoother.
Totally. Understanding those costs, even if they're small, prevents confusion and helps you use platforms like Meteora effectively and confidently.
Okay, quick summary then. You learned first step for Meteora is connecting a wallet, lots of choices there, and you learned why SOL is so critical. It's the gas for everything, paying transaction fees and rent.
And we got specific about SOL rent on Meteora, especially the difference between refundable position rent in DLMMs and that non-refundable binary rent if you're the first mover. Plus, we cleared up what wrapped SOL, WSOL, is all about.
Right. So, final thought to chew on. We've talked about wallets and SOL as the basics you need. But think about how these simple requirements, your own wallet, a bit of crypto for fees, actually enable this whole decentralized world. How does needing these things specifically allow platforms like Meteor to work without banks or middlemen, putting you in direct control?
That's the fundamental shift, isn't it? It's worth pondering.
Yeah.
And next time, building on this wallet and SOL foundation, we're going to dive into dynamic AMM pools and how they actually work on Meteora.
Sounds good. Hope you'll join us then as we keep digging into DeFi on Solana.